My question then focused on American aviation leadership. As I've said earlier and have said many times, for the last 120 years in the United States, we've been the leader in aviation innovation. But I'm concerned that we're starting to cede that ground, particularly to foreign nations. And in your testimony, you warned us, in your written testimony, you warned us that China and Europe are working on their own electric aviation regulations, and that the United States runs the risk of being left behind. What have those two areas, China and Europe, what have they done so far that we haven't? What are they working on that we aren't? And how can we, as crazy as this phrase may sound, how can we catch up?
Thank you very much for the question. And yes, I had the opportunity to join for the earlier session. It was excellent. I think the critical piece, and this is really important, thank you very much for asking it, is as you rightly note, the U.S. has been at the forefront of aviation for more than 100 years. And the technologies that we're developing for this next age of aviation are happening here in the U.S. There is so much excitement, so much entrepreneurial spirit, and it's been going on for a long period of time. What Europe and other nations around the world have done that on the regulatory front that has been leading is they've provided clear guidance for the regulatory process, and that's very valuable. The FAA has been working with many of the companies represented here and many companies in the industry, and has been setting out specific guidance for each of us on the regulatory process for certifying our aircraft. Those have been now codified in G1s that have been published, and it's essential now that we hold firm on those G1s and the course that has been laid out in those G1s so that we're able to move expediently through the certification process. As I mentioned earlier, we're in the process of running the tests on the parts and the systems on our aircraft. We are far down through the certification process, and so any deviation on the upfront rules at this point would be very challenging. And so thank you very much for your question. We're very grateful for all the thousands of hours that experts of the FAA have put into getting us to this point. And you're very right to note that there's a huge opportunity at stake. Thank you.
Thank you. And let's continue down that same track, but take a slightly different path. Let's set aside everything that Joby is working on and that has pending before the FAA. And let's talk about what else in terms of whether it's approvals or certifications or what outside of that as it keeps you up at night. Is it, particularly as my interest in our community is a lot of my district is rural. What is it about the rural parts of our country, whether it's workforce electrification, infrastructure, what are some of those other things that really keep you up at night?
Yeah, again, great question, and it's a lot of it's down to the infrastructure, whether that's the physical locations where these aircraft can take off and land from, whether it's the electrification that Kyle spoke about. It's key to bring the access to this really important new mode of mobility to as many people around the country as possible. And so I'm very focused on how we complete the certification of the aircraft, but we also need to have infrastructure online in a timely manner to support the operations with the certification of that aircraft.
Thank you. And briefly to Mr. Bradshaw, same question for you. What outside of the FAA keeps you up at night as Bristow moves into the eVTOL and electric aviation space more broadly?
Well, fundamentally, our number one priority is always going to be safety. We do have confidence that the companies developing these aircraft and the FAA will ensure that they are safe before certified and brought into operation. Importantly, though, it's critical that they be brought into operation safely, and that in and of itself is a separate process. We have experience working with different OEMs over the decades, introducing a variety of different new models into the market, and there is a process by which that maturity really needs to occur. Beyond that, I think workforce, it's talent management. The industry as a whole is short pilots and other critical staffing positions already. The growth of the AAM industry, which we are confident will happen, is only going to further stress that need for talent in the industry. So an investment in the workforce, making sure that we're tapping into all segments of the community to bring new people into the industry, we think is going to be critically important.
Thank you, Mr. Bradshaw. I yield back.